Hello and good afternoon, dwellers in the Duality of Wrestling. I am Christian, back with another podcast episode focusing on AEW content. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to check out both my previews and now much more timely and relevant, the reviews, 2 parts each of AEW Forbidden Door 2026. If you've not done so yet, I would highly recommend going and doing that now, considering we're going to be discussing some of the things that were decided at Forbidden Door, so it is definitely worth giving that a look through to make sure you are all caught up if you have not got a chance to watch the pay-per-view already. Definitely recommend doing that for sure, but not everybody's got 5 hours to kill, Tony. So let's dive into it. We have this Wednesday's Dynamite, so that's tomorrow. I'm recording on Tuesday afternoon. Ignore the disheveled hair I've got at the moment. I just got up swimming in the pool and wanted to get this up before I even got the chlorine showered off of me. So we're jumping straight in here, figuratively and literally. The biggest match set for Dynamite this week, which I initially thought was going to be at Beach Breaks Dynamite, but it is being moved to, not being moved, but it's being done this week, is MJF versus Mark Briscoe for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Now, if you didn't happen to fully catch the pay-per-view, this was decided at one of the 3 main events at the show, where Team Mark Briscoe beat Team DC MJF when Mark Briscoe hit the J Driller on Jake Doyle, got the pinfall, and secured himself a shot at MJF's World Heavyweight Championship. So this reminds us a good bit of how Darby Allin won the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. He did, something similar. I believe it was he beat Andrade leading up to his match with MJF, where he was able to secure a title shot in that victory, and that allowed him to go on and win the World Championship at Dynamite in his home state of Washington. Now, that's about where I see the parallels ending here. I don't think that Mark Briscoe is going to go full Darby Allin here and be able to take that championship off of MJF. For no other reason than, one, again, as I've mentioned before, I won't belabor the point, I don't see Mark Briscoe as a main event level talent. Darby was able to use the World Championship to elevate himself firmly into that tier. I don't see the same thing being possible with Mark Briscoe. I just don't see it. He's good in the ring. He's, the crowd likes him, but to me, he's a mid-card act. He's maybe an upper mid-card act, but that to me is where he, tops out. I don't see him as a main event level player. So to me, this seems like a pretty obvious layup for an MJF get his heat back victory here. Obviously, he's got the feud with Andrade that's been percolating and is going to probably lead to a match sooner than later, most likely at AEW Redemption, their next pay-per-view. But I think in the short term, the MJF can't withstand 2 flash losses for the championship again. I don't think we're going to keep hot potatoing the title around. I think MJF is going to keep it until at bare minimum All In at this point. Granted, I thought that prior to the Darby match, and I was proven wrong. I don't think I will be here. I just think it's too much. Tony Khan's much more of a long championship reign booker guy. It's not really what he does to hot potato a championship around. Tony was a fan when WCW was in its dying days. He knows the damage that hot potatoing championships can do. He's never done it in AEW. I don't see him starting it here. So to me, this is and that's to me why the reason Mark Briscoe was able to get this win was to give a short-term feud contender for MJF to bridge him and give him something to do before he meets Andrade and then eventually Will Ospreay. But that's where I see this ending. Mark Briscoe is not going to take the World Championship from Maxwell Jacob Friedman on Wednesday. Take it to the bank, guys. Now, the one we are a little bit less sure about is the survival of the fittest match for the TBS Championship vacated by Willow Nightingale. We have all of the participants locked in now. We've got Kris Statlander, Hikaru Shida, Queen Aminata, Persephone, Maika, and Harley Cameron. There will be 6 women in an elimination-style match who battle for this championship, with the winner being crowned the new, not interim, but new TBS champion. There are a number of ways here that AEW could go, but I'm going to try and rule out some of the easy ones early. Yeah, if for anybody wondering, I'm still real bitter that Maika is in this match instead of Sky Blue, a homegrown AEW talent who has done a great job in the past 12 months, who just right now continues to be eating pin after pin and loss after loss with diminishing screen time and diminishing gravitas for herself and stablemate Julia Hart, which is much to my chagrin because I really like that duo and I like Sky and I like Julia. So don't like that, but so Sky should rightfully be in this match. She's not. We're gonna leave it there. But that means to me, Maika is not winning this match. She is the one that has the least amount of AEW TV time in her history, which is why I think it's very easy to rule out the fact that she could be your winner here. For similar reasons, I'm gonna rule out Persephone. She also has not had a great deal of AEW TV time. She obviously splits her time between AEW and more so CMLL, where she is their women's champion, and I think that is her primary focus, which is as it should be. She hasn't really had a chance to sink her teeth into programs on the main roster of AEW as yet. So that to me makes it less likely that she's going to be the winner here. Frankly, if she was going to win here, this would have been a good match to put on Forbidden Door because she is, an inter-promotional talent. So that would have made more sense. But no, I don't think either she will win either. So we're ruling out Maika, we're ruling out Persephone. That leaves us with Kris Statlander, Hikaru Shida, Queen Aminata, Harley Cameron. I am also going to go ahead and rule out Kris Statlander. Now, this seems wild because she is one of only 2 women left in this match who we haven't ruled out, who has been the full AEW Women's World Champion. So, and obviously, Kris Statlander has also been a TBS championship. So, she's the only participant in this match who has held both championships before. And to me, that is the reason I can rule her out. I don't think they're going to just revert Stat from the higher echelons of the women's division back down to the TBS championship level. I don't think that's where she belongs at this point in her career. I know her past world championship reign and her previous TBS championship reign didn't go quite as a lot of people, myself included, would have liked. But I don't see them trying to run it back and seeing if they can get it right the third time with Statlander. So I'm going to say we're going to rule her out at this point. That takes us down to Aminata, Shida, Harley. I am going to, this is a much harder pick, but I'm going to rule out Queen Aminata here too. Aminata is relatively recently coming back from an injury. And like Persephone, she really hasn't had a lot of a chance to sink her teeth into programs of real substance that have a lot of emotional and narrative investment on AEW's main roster. She did a lot of work on Ring of Honor, but she hasn't really marked her territory, so to speak, as a bona fide AEW main roster talent. And I think it might be a bit too fast to hotshot the title onto her here, coming back so soon from an injury. And they really haven't known what to do with Aminata for a while. They had Aminata face off against, I believe it was Willow Nightingale. Willow was TBS championship. Obviously, Willow retained. They threw her in a tag team during the women's tag tournament with Jamie Hayter, of all people. And then I think it was Aminata who got hurt leading up to that. So Aminata's had some health issues, and I just don't think she's done enough to differentiate herself from some of the up-and-comers on the women's roster to put her in a position where she should be your TBS champion right now. So that leaves us with Hikaru Shida and Harley Cameron. Shida is a 3-time AEW Women's Champion, but she has never held the TBS Championship, so I think there is a very easy case to be made that she could be your TBS Championship and do a good bit of rehab on that belt that has been a little bit, I don't want to say tarnished, but obviously Willow having to forfeit it hurts a little bit, and I think with Willow, we saw a vignette at the pay-per-view. Willow is on the mend. She's on her way back. The report I read said she is supposed to be back in July. July's tomorrow, y'all! So we're not going to, necessarily have to wait very long for Willow to be in a get her heat back and title back situation coming off this injury. So that's why Shida would make sense. Now, Harley makes a lot of sense too. Harley is also on the ascent. That woman maximizes every woman she gets. I'm sorry. Well, I guess that's true too. Every woman she gets, every moment she gets. Harley is just somebody who is excellent at making sure their screen time is memorable, and it always sort of takes you up that ladder of fandom. She leaves you liking her more and more invested in her character every time you see her, more than you did prior to seeing her. And that to me is the sign of a great talent who really knows how to get the most of their airtime. Harley's great at that. I am a huge Harley guy. Her personality is infectious. Her character is adorably wonderful. Um, I really would have liked to have honestly seen her be the one that came out of the women's Owen, but that's a discussion for another time. So obviously, with that being said, I'm pretty high on Harley Cameron, and I think you could do a very interesting dynamic with Harley as a face champion, which we don't have right now. We don't have any women's face champions, considering we have Tekla as your AEW Women's World Champion, and you have the Divine Dominion as your tag team champion. So there is definitely a case to be made that you need a baby face champion here, and Harley could really fit that well, especially with Willow very soon coming back. Willow and Harley were the inaugural Women's World Tag Team Championship, so doing a program with them could also be very interesting and could lead to some cool character developments for either one or both. So I think there are really strong arguments to be made to either have Shida or Harley take this championship, but I am going to go against my better judgment here in terms of diversifying alignments and titles, like I just talked about with Harley, and I'm going to pick Shida to be the winner of this match. I think Shida has the one that's had the most invested in her character since her return. She's had the heel turn. She, briefly was in a tag team with Kris Statlander that obviously did not end well and ended in a Philly street fight right after Double or Nothing. But that's kind of now that Shida lost that match, she's left sort of in the wind a little bit. As somebody with multiple women's world championships under her belt, she can very easily take the TBS title on and run with it. And she leans very easily into a comeback feud with Willow, as I mentioned. So Shida to me is this choice that makes the most sense, factoring in future feuds for the championship. Now, if we're just looking at alignment, Harley is the better choice. But I think there's not a real obvious feud for Harley unless you are turning one of either her or Willow heel. I don't see that happening either. So Shida is going to be the one, to me, that comes out of Dynamite with the TBS Championship. She'll hold it up until a feud with Willow, and then I'm interested to see if they pivot to just going back to Willow, which I hope they do not, or if they let Shida run with this for a while. So that's my take. Please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Who do you see taking home the world championship between MJF and Mark Briscoe? And, who do you see surviving the survival of the fittest, outlasting 5 other women to become AEW TBS champion? Please let me know. Love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you so much for watching Duality of Wrestling. See you on the next one, guys.